We have with us Mr. W Erzinger. He is the CEO of Gallen Foundation in Switzerland. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
So can you please give a brief on what exactly Gallen Foundation is and how is it associated with the university?
Of course, with pleasure. Basically, we are a foundation that guarantees continuity in a student-run initiative, which in turn organizes a symposium called the Gallen Symposium on campus of the University of Gallen. So in other words, we are probably what you would call the guarantor of success of the most important student initiative that, to my mind, exists on this planet.
So how do you think is it important to get more students in the forefront of, how do you feel that getting more students in the forefront of education is important, because you have been always a part of that initiative?
Well, I think what we, regardless of our nationality and the countries that we grow up in or visit in terms of exchange programs, what we're all good at is learning, studying, passing tests. Once you've reached a certain level, then I think, we're all the same on a very international high level. But what is important and what I think is lacking in university education, regardless of which country, is to bring young people in connection with the economy, with businesses, with the real world at a very, very real level. And I think the Gallen Symposium and the student committee actually do work in exactly that field. So at the end of the day, the students that come out of our school are probably accustomed much more to real life business than perhaps other students.
You have been associated with the management ecosystem of India for almost 35 years now. So how do you think India can imbibe or learn from the whole system that Gallen is following?
I had the privilege of experiencing your country throughout the last 30 years plus in the tremendous development that has taken place. Now, to your question, I think the Indian people, the Indian youth especially, they're so bright, and if you look at all the companies worldwide that are actually led by Indian executives, starting with Pepsi, for example, it just shows that I think your education system, with all its flaws, which it certainly has, actually works. So I would be quite proud of what you're establishing and have established over the last 30 years here.
So if you could quickly pinpoint some of the flaws that you see in the Indian education system.
Well, if I go back to what I said about the necessity of bringing young people into real life, then I think it is important to have a closer connex with business. And it's not about internships. It's about self-run student initiatives, such as a model in Gallen, I guess, that would allow students to build their own destiny through, I guess, intelligently making something out of their textbook studies, rather than abiding by the strict rules of any university institution or educational institution, and then sort of waiting for success to fly in.
So, do you see Gallen tying up with some of these Indian universities in the near future? Till date, you haven't with any.
Well, I can't speak for the university because our foundation is completely separate of the university, but perhaps with a bit of experience in your country, I would be very thrilled if any university abroad would, and Gallen included, would tie up with your most prestigious IITs, IIMs. I've had the honor of visiting quite a few, and it's just outstanding work that's being done there. So I think whatever any university chooses to do in India, you have the best schools, and I think it would be an honor to work with them.
So now that we have a new government in place, do you see it giving some positive outlook to the foreign investors?
Absolutely. I mean, you've seen this in the market as well. A very positive reaction because everybody knows, and this of course comes out of the history of your new Prime Minister in Gujarat, that he does create a business-friendly environment. And I think a lot of foreign investors have actually waited for these elections to happen in the hope that Narendra Modi would win them, and are now looking at investing. Remains to be seen how these investment opportunities are handled, but I think it's too early to judge on that.
And what is your opinion on the foreign direct investment in education?
Well, there is this bill still pending. I think education is the most logical area of business by and large that is used to be open, that is not bound to any national borders. That is actually happening certainly since '89, since globalization, or in India since '91, since globalization happened, because we have freewheeling spirits. And I think any sort of cooperation should be encouraged, and by that, I don't know the details of the bill, I must say, but I think the question of repatriating funds after having invested them in India in educational premises and programs is probably a crucial point.
So, what is your message to the Indian government?
Well, I feel very humbled being asked such a question, but I think most importantly, as a foreigner who respects and loves India, I would encourage any Indian to remain open-minded about the world, about things happening outside of India, because I strongly believe that India should play a more important role on the world stage, and should, by that, bring in all its human touches that I've had the honor and privilege of experiencing over the last 30 years onto the international stage. So stay open and have fun engaging with the outside world.
Are we in the right direction?
I think as far as the Indian people are concerned, absolutely. I mean, it is. I visit India every 2-3 months for the last decades, really, and I think you cannot keep an Indian spirit confined to its home. You have the ability to venture out, and I think no matter what government's in power, that won't change.
Thank you for joining, Philip.